This is a true supernatural event that happened in Shijiazhuang, Hebei. On the third day after an elderly person in the village passed away, during the funeral procession, the coffin suddenly became extraordinarily heavy. Even dozens of strong men couldn't lift it, and the pallbearers almost became part of the funeral themselves. What strange thing happened in between? If you're scared, quickly tag your bravest friend to watch with you. The story takes place in my hometown, Kaik village, Shijiazhuang. It's a personal story from my classmate Wang Fugi's childhood. That summer, Fugi's granduncle died, so his parents brought him home for the funeral. Rural funerals then had many taboos. The main one was the coffin couldn't touch the ground from lifting to burial. His son carried the portrait ahead, and the 8 strong men carried the coffin. The path to the cemetery was easy, so it should have been simple to carry the coffin there without stopping. But something unexpected happened during the procession. Fugi walked with the group. As they left the village and turned a bend, they were almost at the cemetery. Suddenly, Fugi saw a figure ahead. From a distance, it looked dark and indistinct, but it was clearly an old man, and he seemed familiar. As they got closer, they saw the old man looked quite angry. The procession quickly reached the old man. For some reason, his eyes were fixed intently on the coffin bearers. Then he extended a large hand and suddenly pressed down hard on the coffin. This press was no joke. The 8 strong men who had been walking steadily came to an abrupt halt. Then the old man pressed down hard again with his large hand, and everyone felt a huge force weighing down on them, as heavy as Mount Tai. Since it happened so suddenly, a few of the men with weaker legs almost collapsed. The 8 strong men were full of questions, unable to understand why the coffin had become so heavy, feeling as if it was made of lead instead of wood, just as they were about to give up. Many people noticed something was wrong and rushed to help. Fugi also went over, and as he got closer, he noticed something even more off. He saw the old man's face was ashen, with no trace of blood, and some of his skin was rotting and peeling off. Seeing this, Fugi stammered to the old man, "Granduncle, aren't you already dead? How are you still here?" Then Fugi shouted to his mom, "Mom, you have to look, Granduncle is pressing down on the coffin." As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned and turned to look at him. Fugi thought no one believed him, and pointed at the coffin, saying, "I'm telling the truth, Granduncle is right there on the coffin." At this moment, everyone went silent, with no one saying a word, as if they couldn't see and thought Fugi was just talking nonsense. But Fugi shouted, and the old man suddenly turned his head, glaring at him with a terrifying look. Fugi was so scared he burst into tears and threw himself into his mother's arms. Seeing Fugi so frightened, his mother panicked, not knowing what to do. The crowd around them started whispering. Just then, Granduncle's 2 sons looked at each other, seeming to understand everything. Then they walked up to the coffin and dropped to their knees with a thud and cried, "Dad, please stop tormenting us. We know you're worried about Mom and us not finding wives. Don't worry, we'll start working at the electronics factory in a few days and find girlfriends." The brothers kept shouting and bowing their heads towards the front of the coffin, and this went on for about 10 minutes. Fugi looked up at the coffin again, seeing the old man watching his 2 sons. After a moment, his face eased, and he slowly lifted his hand from the coffin. He glanced at the crowd, then turned and walked slowly into the forest. As he left, the pallbearers felt the weight lighten, and the coffin was no longer heavy. The procession quickly reached the burial ground, and the old man was successfully buried. Later, villagers said the old man's 2 sons, nearly 40, hadn't started families, and his wife was old and frail. He couldn't leave due to many worries.